the cross and the lynching tree.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Between the Lines, where we are going through an ongoing series entitled Off the Pulpit, where I interview people in my life outside of the arenas of what they're commonly known for. And on today's episode, we have a special guest, Noreen Moise. She's a great friend of mine, and I'm just going to give her the time now to introduce herself. Welcome to the show, Noreen.
Thank you, Chairman, for inviting me. Hello, everyone. My name is Noreen Moise. I currently have just finished my university degree at Berman University, where I got to complete my religious studies pre-professional track program. Yay! I'm in the same year as Chamberlain, and that's where we got to know each other. Before then, I got to live in Edmonton. I went to Coralwood Adventist Academy. That's where I was in high school. And a bit more about me, I love to write. People usually know me as a writer. I have an official blog. So if you would like to get to know about that blog, just find me somewhere. Maybe you'll see some information in German's description. And yes, I love to write. I love sports in general. And right now I am currently in vacation at my mom's home in Florida, planning to do my master's in social work at Southern University this coming August. So this is a little bit about me.
I just want to ask an icebreaker before we dive into the rest of our questions, and that is, what is a profound book you have read most recently?
Yes. A profound book I have read recently, I have finished. The title of the book is The Cross and the Lynching Tree. So it's a very deep book. I know. It's too much.
That title alone, that title
Listen,
alone. Oh
yes.
my gosh, unpack that for us. So what is it about? Who's it written by?
Yes, it's written by John Cone. I wanted to start reading it, especially around a year ago with the whole social unrest that happened in the States with the Black Lives Matter movement. I wanted to have more of a biblical perspective when it came to like the racial tension in America. And so I started looking for books, and I realized, I think through a sermon that I heard, the similarities between like be dying on the tree of the cross and dying on the lynching tree. I'm telling you, Trevor. So then I got the book, I read it, and honestly, it really shifts your perspective when it comes to suffering and oppression altogether. So I really like the book. Yeah.
That is correct. Like the title alone and you just describing it, like I can only imagine that it just goes beyond deep even.
Oh
So
yeah.
definitely thank you for sharing that book recommendation. I'll put the title again and the author in the description so that people can definitely go and find it. And so the first question that I have is, share more about yourself. What are some of your passions? How did you develop them? Why did you pick them up?
Yes. So, like I said in my introduction, my first passion is writing. Honestly, I usually say after Jesus Christ in my life, writing saved my life. So I have my testimony is one of them is moving from like Quebec, Canada to Alberta, Canada, and the whole culture shock, language shock, everything was a shock. But also, I lived through some separation anxiety. It was just difficult for me to relate to people and sometimes to my family. And at one point, I just didn't know what to do with myself with all of my thoughts and feelings of loneliness. I picked up a lined book and started writing things down. And I realized that, all pouring all of my emotions on paper, at least the paper understood me, right? So the more I wrote, the better I would feel. And at one point, it literally became my coping mechanism, especially when like a suicidal period came and depression. I literally needed to write, or else like I wasn't gonna be able to function the next day. And that's how I got to develop my appreciation for writing. Naturally, I got to put poetry with it, and imageries and the Bible and everything, and romance, because I'm a bit of a hopeless romantic, and it always comes together to be pretty good content. I've performed and stuff. So I do appreciate public speaking too. So the two of them always come together, and I just like to perform what I get to write. So
As you were talking, like I'm reminded of your personality of being really introspective. And I think you writing down all your emotions, all your feelings, your insights had to do with that. But could you unpack more of your journey through of introspection, your thoughts on it? Yeah, just feel free to share.
yes, so I think it is a personality thing. First, how you were raised, the way you are to be introspective. I don't remember a time that I wasn't like thinking further than what was, around me at the moment. From when I was a child, there would be conflict right there, and I'm like, yeah, but what is actually going on in people's lives for there to be a conflict right here and now? So, and I appreciate the gift of introspection. I think that's what makes us human, being able to not only live life but think about the life we're living. And honestly, I think it is a gift. It doesn't come easy to everyone, so I think people sometimes need to take a step back and be like, think about what they're doing, how they're doing things. On the flip side though, someone can be too introspective. I've definitely have places where I just infringe on people's boundaries because I was becoming introspective for them, kind of thing, and trying
Oh,
to nitpick at their problems and their situations when you're not supposed to be doing that. Everybody has their own life to be introspective of, right? So I haven't gotten to a place of being too introspective for myself, but I think you get to sleep okay, or other things, watch TV, be on social
yeah.
media, but yeah.
That's so interesting. So, at least from what I'm hearing with you, like there came a point where your introspection, like that trait about you, wasn't just applied to you, but also like applied to other people, which I think is great. But as you said, there's like a bit of a danger in when we start like assuming that's why someone's behaving a certain way or whatnot. And then they might feel like you can't read me kind of vibe or whatever. That's definitely interesting. Another thing that you said too that I, if you don't mind, like going further on, is the idea of like using different outlets such as media or like television or whatnot to kind of prevent yourself from being introspective.
hmm I think we have natural things that are natural that stop us from certain things. So, for example, you cannot go on running forever. At one point, you're just gonna drop,
Yeah.
right? You cannot eat forever. As at one point, you're just gonna feel sick, right? So that's the same for being introspective. Either it will be time, it's time to go to bed, like I said, or a friend comes through, and then you cannot continue with your thoughts. Whatever, like life has a way to come through with its own boundaries. And I wonder how it is for the person that has to be like, okay, I need to stop.
Mhm.
um and I think it happens sometimes. You get to be in a rabbit hole of maybe this and maybe that, and for me, naturally, I have to just stops. Like I can't continue to a place of nothingness and despair, because it's just not a healthy place to be. And I don't think we need to be that introspective, because as soon as you become too introspective, you skip on actually living the life, kind of thing. So
That's
it's
so true.
balance. It's
Yeah,
balance.
for sure. Because for me personally, I feel like I have had a tendency to become too introspective where like I analyze my feelings and then I start blaming myself for the feelings that I have. And then I start questioning why I have those feelings. And then it's just this whole cycle that goes downhill. But
Mhm.
as you said, I think there is wisdom in just letting yourself live life as it is. Don't think too deeply about it at times, and just really enjoy each moment for what it is. So, with that being said, I was wondering what your take was on this phrase. So, there's a phrase that says like you view the world through rose-colored glasses, so or like rose-tinted glasses, where they might view a situation and it's not the greatest, but because they're wearing rose tinted glasses, it's like the best situation in the world or whatever. And I'm wondering in your spiritual life as well, if from your journey and your experience, were there pros, cons of wearing religious colored glasses?
Yes, that is a good question. Um, in general, I think the colored glasses come in places of vulnerability, like the places that are actually like wonky in your personal life. That's when you're gonna try to like, make it better than what it seems to not actually, see the impacts of them. And so in other situations, I've seen people be like, God will take care of you when someone is going through depression. A lady is not able to be pregnant and it's like, oh, like, maybe it's not God's will, and things that are pretty much like not necessary, and they're not biblical. There are a lot of things that we try to put the glasses on top, and instead of analyzing our own insecurity about the situation, we try to like paint a picture on top of it. For me, easily it's gonna have to be my desire for marriage and a relationship, right? I have over spiritualized the concept. Like it's not supposed to be so we're not all Ruth and Boaz. Like we're not all supposed to have that kind of story. Sometimes it will be more of you and God, and sometimes it will be more of your purpose in community. But sometimes, because of my own insecurity of loneliness, I emphasize on it and then I put the rose glasses on top of it. Like, oh, it is his will and it will happen in this specific way, and angels and flowers. And it is dangerous because I have had relationships and friendships that have suffered because of my personal glasses and not actually seeing things for what they are, or even neglecting certain people because I'm trying to make them a certain way or make a situation in a specific way. So that would be the negative. The pros, I cannot imagine a life without a little bit of a spiritual rose glasses. I mean, imagine the atrocities that are happening and you don't have a little bit of hope of what's going on. You don't have a little bit of, at least there is a God, at least there are all those promises in the Bible. Of course there needs to be balance, but definitely those glasses have their use certain situations. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to go deeper into that. How do I even ask this? But like, do you think life would be okay if you didn't have those spiritual glasses on, if that makes sense? I don't even know how to ask this, but like, if you get where I'm going from, because a lot of people, like, we love to like share the glasses and the perspective we have, especially if it's rooted in religion and whatnot. And we try to put those glasses on other people when their lives seem to be going, pretty well. Their perspective is pretty balanced already, and then we just toss on these glasses to them, or things like that. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think that not everyone's glasses are pink. Not everyone's glasses are rose. Not everyone is going to have the same exact like tint to them. Where for me, it's gonna be John 3:16. The next person is going to be Jeremiah 29:11. Everyone has their own like tint when it comes to spirituality. And I think that comes with our uniqueness, and that's where it becomes dangerous trying to enforce people to take your own glasses and try to make cookie cutter messages when it comes to the positivity of our spiritual lives. No, like you can present them to, oh yeah, this is how I do it. And
Yeah.
naturally we'll be able to pick up their own and be like, oh yeah, like this is the brighter side when it comes to my spiritual life. And I hope that answers your question.
Oh, for sure. Another question that I have is when we have these glasses on, right? Many times we have not rose-colored glasses, but like very gray, clouded, negative thinking. And in those times, um, what are your best self tips? Something practical that our audience can kind of take away.
Yes. When it comes to spiritual life, when it becomes gray and cloudy, I try to be honest with God and be like, this does not make any sense. This sucks. What is this plan? Because I think something that has been missed some with our Christianity is this raw truth with our God. Like, why are we trying to put a face on when it comes to how we truly feel with what's happening to us, right? So this raw, honest truth of like, I don't understand what's going on. This is what I see and everything. In life in general, I personally tend to be present. There's something that's going on in like the therapy world, which is mindfulness, which has been pretty beneficial to me. And it's basically being present in the moment. Like, what do you see? What do you hear, feel, smell, touch? What is happening in the present moment? Because I think sometimes with the cloudy glasses, we're trying to run ahead. We're thinking too much about something. We're thinking too much of the past. Everything is in our head, and we don't realize like the blessing and the favor is here and now. Like, what is happening right now is what really should matter. And just, taking time in that. It's sometimes very difficult. Sometimes it gets to be pretty easy. But living in the present has definitely helped me with, the cloudiness of my glasses. So.
Living in the present. So, um, I guess how does that look like? If you can like give a specific example, if any come to mind.
Mm-hmm. I've been putting this phone away from me. That's for sure. Because social media will definitely get you to think of skipping ahead so much, or will bring you to your past easily. Like, you get one message. For me, I get one message, and half of the day is gone, right? Putting social media away in general, other people's lives, and like, actors' lives, like trying to be in your own body. It will be taking a walk. It will be, breathing in a little bit deeper. It will be talking to a friend, just going out there and playing some ball, on the court. Like, anything that actually grounds you in the moment, you have to focus on, instead of like always being in like a sort of a trance of always social media or your past, or things that just take you out of the present moment. So it's usually activities for me.
Yeah,
So
that's interesting. So like grounding activities that require your full attention
yeah.
then and there. I think that's really helpful because I think for me as well, like I'll be editing videos or whatnot, and those things require your like complete attention. Otherwise, you're like, I don't know, your video is gonna be whack. So I think, yeah, and I've, at least for me personally, I've noticed that the something like that requires your full focus and attention on really does ground you and make you present. So thank you for sharing those tips. Our last set of questions revolves around celebrating difference. So, how do you embrace and celebrate your differences? How do you view your differences as something beautiful rather than something that is quote unquote wrong or quote unquote unworthy?
Yes. I think my first step is always to be like, I'm stuck with who I am. I was born in this body with those differences, and there's not much that, I mean, I'm willing to do. I could do certain things, but that I'm willing to do to get there. It's too much time, too much money. There's no way. So now that I have to accept this is who I am supposed to live with in this, body, and with these abilities, it's just to refine who I am in the areas that I think need more work in, and then thrive in the ones that I think are already working, right? So, for example, I'm always going to think of me as, I've taken religious studies, and I'm also like a Black woman,
Mm,
in societies that don't really appreciate my skin. And so what is that difference? So that's supposed to be like a bit of a downside, but how can I use those differences to further God's will in our societies? I can see that I can relate to other oppressed peoples. I can be a middle ground, since I've been in a position of, let's say, economic privilege. I can be between those people and those people. So there are so many ways to use who I am. um, at one point, writing, was not so great for me, and I would have never picked up a book for anything. But now I'm able to refine it. It becomes better. That difference, other people would rather do other things. That difference in me will be probably writing a book one day, if we're hopeful about it. So
yeah,
every single difference can be used for the better. And that is the beauty of it. Sometimes I even think, some people tend to be like good looking, and they become pastors. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's because, they know, God knew, like, their flair, their attitude, their good looks were gonna attract people. And other people, just like to be in the background. Not that they're ugly, but they just like being in the background. I'm just saying,
yes,
if you don't think you have the looks, there's still a place for you, and have amen. but that's literally how I think of it. So
Yeah, for sure. There's like a place for everybody. And as you mentioned, like your uniqueness enables you to relate to other people as well. And I think that's something that um I think especially as you enter into like a different field or a different environment or a new community or whatever, those differences could be very intimidating or can really discourage you at first. But yeah, I think definitely differences and uniqueness do make our community thrive, not in uniformity, but definitely in unity. So
this was a very good conversation. I love interviews because I love answering questions. So I'm out here just, is there more? But I really enjoy it. I enjoyed it. So
great. Yeah, I love talking to you, Noreen, because I feel like we just bounce back our ideas and our thoughts. But yeah, since we are running short on time, I'm just gonna thank you again for joining. I will definitely probably invite you back to do another set of questions. But with that being said, thank you again to our viewers for watching today's episode, and we will see you guys next week for another one.